we're promising you a very mouth-watering episode. It really can't get better than this. Simar and I have the good fortune, and after much trying, have finally got Ritu Dalmia on an evening where she has some time off. And guess what? We are holding her to it, using every moment that
Not
we
fair.
have with... Yes,
Not
exactly.
fair.
There she is.
I was so easy. Come on. Now you're
You've
making
been
me
so busy. I mean,
Um,
you're expanding. You've been busy. You're never out of news.
I'm
You're
a
coming
cook.
up with your
I'm supposed to-
books.
No,
It's endless.
I should be in the kitchen cooking, not sitting and talking to you guys here. So I'm just being honest to my profession.
That is
All
also
right.
true.
So if you want a
can't-
mouth-watering
you can't
meal,
argue with that one. We also
Exactly.
want a mouth-watering show now.
exactly.
Come on.
Okay.
Now, I'd like to start by asking you describe yourself, as a lazy chef in the intro to Italian Khana. That's what you say.
I was
that
just being
something
modest.
doesn't sound right about that.
I was just trying
Tell
to
us,
be modest.
to get to where you are today, and you began in the early 90s, and it's been quite a journey. What is the average amount of hours a day that you are still spending over 2 decades down the line?
Okay, so I've been doing this for 22 years. When I started, I was putting in 15 to 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now I'm older, a little bit, bones ache, legs get tired. So I put about 14 hours a day, 7 days a week.
And
So
tell me, how much of this is just about the food? Because now I would imagine that there's a lot of other stuff that goes into it.
Absolutely.
Give us a taste of that.
I would like to spend most of my time in the kitchen, but being a chef is just not stirring the pot. Most of my time actually goes in sourcing. Ingredients is what makes diva. I mean, what we stand for has always been the best possible ingredient, which in a country like India, it's got better, but it's still something very, very tough. So 50% of my time goes just sourcing ingredients, changing menus, trying out new menus, new seasonal produce coming in, training, which is another huge part, because I'm very proud to say we have, I think, about 170 or 180 people in all in the Diva group. More than 90% I would say have never been to a catering school or a catering college.
Okay.
So I never went to a catering
exactly,
school.
so you never held that against anyone.
No,
really.
I'll tell you, if they have been to a catering school, then I have a problem. That's already -5 on the resume.
Okay.
Because when they come, they have fresh minds.
Right.
So it's a very wrong way to approach it, but it's also my own ego.
Sure.
I don't want someone to tell me that stick a thermometer in the chicken to see if it's cooked or not, and I don't want him to show off how he chops in this fancy manner. So most of the people who are in Diva have been taken in raw.
I see.
They've been trained the way I see food, and actually it works beautifully well for me. So training is another huge part process, and now because unfortunately we have a few restaurants, I also have to do some
That
of
is being
the
modest.
horrible. No, but in some ways it's really sad, because I got into the restaurant business because I loved cooking so much, and I didn't want to do things like finances, administration, etc. And now I
inevitable, I
find
imagine.
myself actually doing not still a lot, but a fair amount of it. And coming back, it's still 14 hours a day, and to be honest with you, I mean, it's a great business. It's the most amazing thing you can do, but the long hours will never ever change. I don't know if you've read this book, Kitchen Confidential, of Anthony Bourdain, and one of my favorite passages in that book is, he says, asks me all the things I hate about my work, and I'll tell you the long hours, the pressure, the heat, the abuses in the kitchen, the antisocial life, no weekends, no Christmas, no New Year. Give me a few drinks and ask me what are the things I love about my job. The long hours, the heat, the pressure.
Wonderful.
So this is
Wonderful.
it. It's really the most addictive thing you can do. And I always say, if you worked in a kitchen, forget about a 9-to-5 job. You have been corrupted for life.
Really?
Yes, but in a good way.
In a good way, okay. You mentioned, this is a time when India's got the spending power, young India especially. They've traveled, they're open to new cuisines. Delhi is no longer about butter chicken and kali dal. It's a lot more. I mean, you name it and there's something
Absolutely.
for your palate.
Absolutely.
In the midst of all this, how do you see the food business growing? Is there room for everyone? Can there ever be room for everyone?
When World War II happened, there were only 2 businesses that survived, the beer business and the restaurant business. Okay, so the reality is, however good times are, whether the economy is booming, not booming, when you're depressed, what do you need to cheer you up? A nice meal out. When you're celebrating, what do? You go and have a nice meal out. So I am very positive and optimistic from that point of view. And what's happened in the recent time is that finally the young India has realized there's more to restaurants and five-star hotels.
Exactly.
You know, in the early times, it was either home or a five-star hotel because people didn't trust restaurants outside the hotel. Today, it's totally changed. It's all about standalone restaurants. It's no longer about, when you say Italian, there's not only one diva. And there's not diva competing with hotels. There are so many other Italian, and it's not only with Italian. Today you get Japanese as good as you would eat in Tokyo. You get dim sums as you would eat in Hong Kong. Today every cuisine, because India's traveled. India suddenly has discovered what's there, and they want to recreate the same experience of what focaccia they ate in Sicily, what dim sum they ate in Hong Kong, or what tortilla they ate in Mexico. And this is what's so amazing, and that's what keeps the restaurants on toes.
And is that what got you to writing your books as well, your cookbooks as well, that I want to
Okay, I'll tell you a secret. I wanted to write erotica when I was young.
Oh,
all right?
Damn, but the rules
So I mean...
Mills and Boon or more hard?
No, Mills and Boon I tried when I was in the 6th grade. Okay, had a
Talk
fight.
about starting young.
Oh yes,
I mean,
that's why I told you I'm a young genius. No one believes me. No, but seriously, as I said, finally I realized I don't have the talent to write erotica, so might as well do the second best thing, write a cookbook. But it just happened. I mean, I'm sort of a stickler for making notes, etc. So since very early days, whatever I did, I always had long notes and experience, and you know, so in some ways Italian Khana was already there even before it was published, because food for me is always related to a memory. And when my amazing editor came to me, Chiki Sarkar, who had just started Random House that time, and said, why don't you do Italian food for an Indian home? Because all the Italian cookbooks that you find which are written by international chefs, 90% of the ingredients are not available to us. So the book was done basically keeping in mind what are the ingredients that are available without bastardizing the food. Because
that is key, I would imagine.
I'm a purist, always been a purist. So for me to substitute paneer for ricotta is not an option. But the funny part is, I mean, I also learned many things when I wrote Italian Khana, because my first draft is ready and I'm so happy, and I said, okay, we are all ready to go. And then Chiki looked at the book and said, there's something not quite right about it. I said, what do you mean? She says, you have so many recipes which uses oven. So I said, so? She says, well, most of the young Indians have a microwave. They don't believe in oven. I said, I don't believe it. I gave the manuscript to a few of my friends, and lo behold, all of them came back and said, oven, but I don't have an oven. So went back to it, made it lot simpler.
Between cooking and baking, that for baking, if you get something wrong, your cake won't rise, something will sink.
That is true.
But with cooking, it's still unnes bis.
Absolutely, unnes ikkis. That's why Italians don't do great desserts. Thank God.
I know that Simran has a whole list of questions.
I do have a bunch of questions. You do see chefs more often than not give a few tips about, putting out a great dish. But you're someone who's always said that, there are no tips and there's no theory to cooking. Why do you believe that?
Because as I just told you, when you actually go and try out a recipe, food, I mean, let's face it, most of us are not cooking for pure necessity reason. Our mothers and our grandmothers did that. Now, cooking is a lot about interaction. You're cooking with your friends around, or you're cooking for the pure pleasure of it. And the pleasure comes from where? Where it comes when you're doing something and you want to add your own 2 penny bits to it. So I don't believe that there can be one hardcore recipe, or there is one I don't have any secrets. This is a reality. So I also don't
having
believe
fun and enjoying what you do, and then
having a great time. And as I said, when you're actually cooking, let's face it, there are really some very nerdy sorts who actually follow a recipe to
Correct.
Book
Who
every
do
minute.
the thermometer bit.
Exactly.
I mean, you know who do it.
Yes,
They do
yes,
do it.
but there are very few of them.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's not about a scientific, how shall I say, chemical formula
Right.
or chemistry. As it's cooking, it's a nuance. It's something either you have it or you don't
Or
have
you
it.
don't have it, right.
And if you don't have it, you can follow the recipe to the hilt, and it's still going to be a disaster.
You do see a lot of youngsters talking about health, talking about nutritious food. Focus on that. What defines healthy food for you? What do you think is healthy for Ritu Dalmia?
I'm a diabetic, but I still eat a dessert every day.
Every day.
Okay, but saying that, I have to admit, I have had a change in the way I look at food in the last few years. You know, earlier I was a serious believer of what Julia Child used to say, that
Correct.
fish
the
has to
cream.
swim
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
butter, wine, and water. But I think all of us today, the life that we lead, where food timings are never adhered to, where everyone is grabbing a bite from where we have to, because as I said, I have way too many ailments myself. So in last few years, for example, at home now, if I have to eat, I have moved to oat bran or ragi. I use a lot more quinoa in my cooking than I've ever done before in all the restaurants. I've started using a lot of pearl barley. I've always believed in organic vegetables, although it's still very difficult to source it, but all our salad leaves, as far as possible, I'm sourcing them from organic farms. Slow food movement, we are really trying very hard to push it, because at the end, we are what we eat. So thankfully, that
We're waking up to
we are waking up to a long
right.
way to go, and healthy food can be delicious. Also it's a mindset that it's not delicious, but will I open just a pure healthy restaurant? No, I will not,
no.
because it'll never work.
Correct.
Because
and there's got to be something for everyone, right?
There has to be
I may be in a
absolutely.
mood to eat.
Absolutely.
Really,
So
be
if
careful.
you see, Cafe Diva,
Yeah,
you
has-
will
is
find
that.
a lot of healthy options, which are just not salad. In Latitude, again, the menu actually there, the focus mainly is health food. But doing it in a very nice way. So
To be able to get to a larger.
soon, if I follow my thing, I'm gonna look like her.
Oh wow! Oh wow!
What would you call a chef's hard day, like a difficult day? The challenges, some of the days when you feel that it's just.
Yeah, I was going to add. I'll just add to that. You can answer it in one go. What is the most frustrating part of being in the business? Are they sort of? Is it the same answer? Is it still?
It's the clients. Sometimes when sourcing, like I said, is difficult. When you teach your chef something and they make the same, so there are many.
Correct.
But I'll tell you, when you present a dish which you've put your heart and soul into it, and they send back the person कच्चा है और पका के लाओ, इसमें थोड़ा olive भी डाल दो, chicken भी डाल दो, sun-dried tomato भी डाल दो, grilled vegetable भी डाल दो, और mushroom भी डाल देना. Okay, that's sometimes quite heartbreaking. Yeah, but I've also, like I said, aged and mellowed.
How do you deal
in
with
the
it?
early
How do you deal with it then?
Okay,
And how do you deal with it now?
Yeah, in the early days, I would come, put my hands like that, and
You
say,
would walk
"You're-
up to the table.
Yeah,
Okay.
and so you're not going to eat like this anymore. I'm going to and
Or with a smile?
with this always
with a smile.
come on,
Okay, I
always
mean,
a cute
not-
smile.
yeah,
I'm
okay, okay.
I'm not those
don't have- okay.
chefs that you have on various TV shows who
Yeah,
throw
who-
pans and
Yeah,
pots on.
exactly.
I'm a very sweet, gentle
Okay.
Not a
chef
Hell's
from
Kitchen.
that.
Yeah, no Gordon
Yes.
Ramsay is here. Thank God. Oh God.
That's a terrible.
But now I still won't mess with my food. I will still present it the way I feel it's right. But I've become a lot more tolerant. Okay, I don't get mortally offended that they didn't want to eat it the way it was in the menu.
But would you alter it today? I mean, if the
No, like I
ignorant
said-
would sort of say "kacha hai" when it's fine.
Yeah, when it's then I will overcook it for them.
You will. Okay.
I will.
Because that's
They
what-
have to.
You
at
get
the
what
end-
you want, basically.
Yeah, at the end,
okay.
they are here
Right.
to enjoy an evening.
Yeah.
At
Fair
the
enough.
end, they are here to enjoy a meal. And in some ways, you're getting paid for it, so
Yeah.
you have to be responsible. for it.
Absolutely,
So there are few things, but there are few things which we still draw a line to. Okay, like mint chutney. I have had clients here who ask for mint chutney. Okay, with their pastas. I've had people who have asked for sliced onions. Okay, with some chili flakes and salt on top. So we've had many interesting. One day I'm going to write a bestseller.
I
on
think
that
that
also.
would be quite something.
I
I
know,
mean, move
better than
aside
erotica.
erotica. This is here I come. I mean,
No, but
there's
saying
more.
that, I'm very lucky. At least in GK2 Diva, because 95% of our guests here are regulars who have been coming here since we've opened up. So in some ways it's very nice because they know exactly what they want. They get what they want. I know what they like to eat, and they also keep us on our toes. But yeah, a difficult client always gives you sleepless
But
nights.
clearly you've learned to grin and bear it and sort of go with the flow, really, as it were. Well, we're slipping into a quick break now. There's lots more coming up with Ritu, including, we hope, that some tips, something beyond what would life have been if she were actually selling marble. Let's just try and find out. No, she says. So maybe something that we don't know. The unexpected coming up right after this.